Lost causes. Let me summarize your thinking. Rain didn't cause the crocus to grow. The sun wasn't responsible for the flood. Your ice cream didn't melt because of the sun. The glass didn't break because you placed it on the floor. The running dog didn't cause the wine stain on the Persian rug. Your fingers didn't bleed because you picked up broken glass. The bent stem of wheat didn't cause the ant to fall, nor did the wind for what caused it. Your hand may have been near, cutting a shaft to dangle from your teeth, aping a rube, tasting the earth through a blade of grass. I'll concede the odds of the absurd are never zero. Turn the key in the ignition, floor it. Not an inch of Florida beach will disappear. Sort of a similar vein here. Conflicted thoughts on oil presses past and future. Oh, I should be reading to the mic. Because I didn't have my glasses on before I started reading. I didn't see the mic to know that this is what I should be doing. So you can do things with the mic you can't do with the air between me and you. Okay, conflicted thoughts on oil presses past and future. This one you'll be able to hear. It's difficult to be saddened by the heat death of the universe. Phil seems to feel its imminence at the Cameo Lounge, sipping rhubarb stoli through a sage leaf. Phil chills his Tahoe's leather seats in August, heats them up in February wind chill for the Vaughan Barry commute in a truck the size of a juvenile ankylosaurus that breathed abundant oxygen when the sun was cooler, the planet hotter, and sediments pressed the last eon's plantae for future oil. Like those enterprising Pender Island souls, cultivating Canada's first olive grove, thriving since the planet's warmed up again. It's actually true, there's an olive grove. This one, I'm just going to read all the apocalyptic ones and get that out of my system. Bacon production on an industrial scale. This is an actual dream poem. Some of you have already heard it, I'm pretty sure. After I dreamt of bacon, I doubted the planet would ever recover. Black pigs stanched in vast sties from here to California. Sears towers of grain on the horizon funneled feed to troughs the length of Route 66. Abattoirs the size of Boeing factories. I can't bring myself to describe the effluent. Smokehouses sprawled along the Mississippi like full-throttle coal-fired power plants, air conditioning the malls of the world after 100 days of 100-degree heat. One hog had the face of Noam Chomsky. He said, "Your disbelief does not make data false." Knowing eloquent speech is not the characteristic note of our time, I protested, "Of course I believe in data. Big data. All of it." To a sow with her nose in the trough. Okay. Bitter December. This let's call this Bitter March because the context is completely the same. It's all about the decaying polar vortex, which is, climate deniers love to say that, yeah, but it's warmer today or it's colder tomorrow. It's cold now, so there's no global warming. But, the polar vortex is wobbling, right? Because the currents of air and the jet stream are changing shape as the whole atmosphere and ecosystem changes topology. So it's kind of interesting. And you can look at maps of the polar vortex and see it sort of going, whoa, it's like it's sort of, losing its balance a little bit. And it brings us this. So Bitter March. I told my San Antonio partners about the night Ottawa was so cold, the mercury crystallized in the bulb, and we measured temperatures in degrees below 0 Kelvin. None of them laughed. I explained to my Bangalore supplier that the river ice had frozen so thick I would have needed chainsaw and auger to cut through it for pike. The baffled tact of his reply charmed and disappointed me. I shared the news with our Costa Rican bartender. Ottawa was the coldest city on Earth, more frigid than the surface of Mars, where rovers sampled the red sand for water. He was unmoved by my appeals to the mysteries of other planets. But you understood because you were there, walking the dog in the park at midnight. The nylon leash frozen, hockey stick stiff. Your eyelashes tinseled with minuscule icicles. Earlobes bleaching with frostbite. Fingertips numb in the buckskin mittens we snagged at the Aboriginal fair. Heartbeat and simmering blood exchanging your body heat with the world. Not because it was your wish to donate your energy to the Arctic atmosphere framing the stars, but because we're all subject to the law. Okay. I'm going to read a couple of new ones too, but I will read... has anyone heard White Sweater, Black Dog? This kind of anti-poem. Okay, so White Sweater, Black Dog. This was, when I was in a mood about poetry, which we should all be at some point. When I found Nico's black wire doodle fur on the white cashmere sweater you regifted to me, I said, writing is impossible, unconscionable. Opened the barbecue and set all my poetry on fire. The annotated Coleridge, the tiny Faber Larkin volumes, even the North Ship, the signed original contact press poems for all the Annettes, the Musgrave, the Atwood, Browning's Aurora Leigh. That was a difficult parting. I sold my copy of The Ring and the Book ages ago. I made a slim profit on that fat volume. The Wallace Stevens, even Opus Posthumous, the Anne Carson, I kept Economy of the Unlost because it had thoughts about banking, a subject closer to my current temperament. My cherished Foxed Mountain Tea with the red ballpoint pen inscription to Brockwell, a brother in the mysteries. Fagel's Homer, all the Greek and Latin penguins. Cohen, of course I kept the music. Leighton, minus Waiting for the Messiah. Klein, Marlet, Miron, Mallarmé, Hébert, Villeneuve, Vigneault, Nelligan, Baudelaire, Apollinaire, Brodsky, Herbert, Milosh, Rimbaud, Solway, Zimborska, Zagajewski, Pound, Plath, Pindar, Pinsky. Why not send them all off with one last alliteration? When I heaved the poetical works of Bowring and McLennan on top of the pile, I feared the arrival of local bylaw officers, but after I heaped my own books, scribbled manuscripts and drafts, squirt, squirt, up rose a magnificent flame, more colorful than I would have imagined, so hot it seared my eyebrows, so bright my retina retained the image for days. We cooked dry-aged steaks on the coals, ate them rare, and laughed together. Oh, he ate well, and fed our doodle the fat. Okay, one more from here. Yeah. Okay, so this is actually every single one of these is true, and one of them happened recently. Actually, the skier one. So this is called Biography of Mistaken Identities, and there's interspersed in this little book. There's all these little biographies of like events, biographies of moments, as well as just people. They're not just biographies of people. And this is a Biography of Mistaken Identities, which is fun. I was mistaken for Steve Martin in a bar in Montreal. I was mistaken for someone Richard Simmons could love by Richard Simmons on a flight to Los Angeles. I was mistaken for Olympian Ken Reid, but I've never needed skis to hurdle downhill. I was mistaken for a gay man at Swizzles and played it to my advantage at the Slam. I was such a flirt. Were they mistaken? I am told I could be mistaken for Henry Rollins. Soon my dog will mistake me for an old hound on the porch, bark in my face and tear my ears. I hope to be mistaken for soil by seedling pines. And I'll read a couple of newbies here. These are really, really new. Okay, one, I'm just going to sort of send it out there and see. It's a test drive. Crowdsourcing the candle. And candling is, you'll get it, what I mean by that in a second. This is related to something we were talking about with this Benjamin Fondant character, who was a great poet. You should all go out and discover, who was killed in Dachau, I think it was, or one of the concentration camps anyways, in like 43 or 44.
but his last manuscript got out before he did, and part of his poem, L'Exode, about the Exodus. He was a Jewish Romanian poet who ended up writing in France, did films and all these things. Fantastic, beautiful language, like absolutely gorgeous. If you know French, it's like, oh, this is beautiful, lush, and absolutely refusing the kind of anger. In fact, that's one of the things he talks about not being angry. And he started out super postmodern, really. Like one of his first poems was the Cine poems, which are, they're like little scenarios for films that would never be filmed, but they're really just surrealistic little vignettes for every scene. And then he got more and more sort of lyrical and thoughtful. Anyway, so Benjamin Fondin, beautiful poet, you should all go seek him out. But he's sort of refusing to accept the language of the time, right? And he's sort of doing things with language of beauty, recovery of language that I thought were really interesting. So here, at this moment in time, that's an important thing to think about, I would say. So rather than sort of just, griping. Crowdsourcing the candling. We were uncertain what was said, first in whispers, then overheard before sunrise from shrill tongues and ground down enamel at night while the mind slept and the jaw raged. We candled the sayings in the webbed shed, watched for stirrings in the shell. No embryonic insight there, no pigeon cluck from the strawman beds to tell the virtue of the germ. It was lost to us. It might be edible if cooked, whipped into stiff peaks, salted, sugared, but there was no vessel there, nothing to hatch anything resembling fact. Frigate bird. A frigate bird is like a kind of, almost like an albatross, big, huge bird, big long wings, and they can never go in the water. Actually, can never go in the water. If they do, they're stuck there because they're too heavy. Oh, to be shat upon from a great height is no small miracle of gravity and trade winds, but to be shoulder splattered with an eye, the carob-centered white dot of soaring seabird stool, is to be granted the voice of the bard for a few seconds to tap the Saxon spring for expletives. Frank Ebanks tells me, in different words, the frigate bird is no Canada goose. It plies the up and down drafts with the grace of a Martha Graham gossamer dance. Breathtaking. But it's air-bound. One wet feather and say goodbye to soaring with the clouds. An exercise in breeding. The frigate class never get their feathers wet. If they did, they wouldn't breed or wouldn't feed the brood they leave on shore. One takes the privilege of effortless flight to an extreme, cleans its feathers, preens while hanging in the clouds, like an open mic poet washing mustard stains from her shirt as she reads an ecstatic ode to gods who have yet to believe in us. I was going to say, who wouldn't love to be that bird? Not the crane in a basho haiga, but the poet painting word and image with a single stroke while slicing the finest maguro from the belly of a bluefin. But in all sincerity, what the fuck? Such effortless excellence is a joke. If the geese waddle on the muddy shore and wade near riverbanks to feed on sedge, cattails and snails among the algae-plagued reeds, or make a waypoint of the cattle-corn fields to graze the abandoned cobs, when they fly, they shit on us with artless abundance. So this is one of two sort of sonnets in progress to that really shameful statue on Wall Street. Honest to God, like when I saw it, I just could not freaking believe it. The way they portray a little girl, like a defiant little girl. Just like so many absolutely sexist gestures. And having a daughter who just it's like losing her mind over it, I thought I would write this. So it's meant to be like from her point of view and then from the bull's point of view, or vice versa. I've only got one of them. Little girl in a bull market. I'm no prep school, Ivy League, pleated skirt debutante, no Wall Street wallflower. I'm your bronze fiction on this gilded corner. Pasture trampling ox, the herd can't graze. He rutted at the fence, it needs new posts, and you haven't the mind to replace them. He crapped in the pond and the calves are sick. When he basks in late August sun, I'd swear the cows queue up to lick away his flies. But he plopped to ground, knock-kneed, he suckled, fattened on soybeans, dairy, oil, and wheat. Let him breed for a season, but he'll be fed to the displaced Appalachian bears and be praised for his rare tenderness. Thanks.